Hey guys, happy Friday. Today we have a lot of fun planned. We in this video are going to be doing a few different projects that I've been needing to get done, but they're all wrapped around the same theme, and that is attracting more pollinators to your garden. Stick around. I'm Brian with California Garden TV, and if you're looking to join a garden community that offers tips, tricks, and support to help you grow your own organic fruits and vegetables and become a little more self-sufficient along the way, then start now by clicking subscribe and hitting the bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Let's get growing. So I know at this time of year we're all, in a frenzy trying to get seeds started, maybe setting out starts that we've already got going on if it's warm enough where we are. And a lot of times we don't really pay much thought to pollinators that actually help our plants produce fruit, because if it weren't for pollinators, we'd have plants and no fruit. Actually, we wouldn't even have plants because we need the fruit to get the seed to make the plants. So we'd be in a mess. Now, I'm not going to get on my high horse again about the lack of pollinators and that there's less and less of them every year, especially bees. But there are. I've noticed it. And if you've noticed that too, let me know down in the comments. It used to be that one zucchini plant would keep you overstocked for the entire season. And now it's like, to get a good crop, I've actually got to hand pollinate. So there's definitely something going on. So this year I'm making a specific point to leave spots in my vegetable garden to plant plants that attract pollinators, mainly bees and butterflies. Now, speaking of butterflies, I'm going to start off with the inspiration for this video. Yesterday morning I was walking through the garden and I happened to see something that I've never seen before in this garden. And that happens to be a guy in here that you probably can't see, but I'll get a close-up on him. A monarch caterpillar. Now, I've seen other kinds of caterpillars in the garden, but never a monarch. Now, he just happens to be here because of the plant that's in here with him, and that is milkweed. Now, milkweed is basically the only plant that a monarch caterpillar will eat. So if you want to attract them to your garden, plant some milkweed. Milkweed is the only plant that monarch caterpillars eat. So that makes it really great, because if they come to your garden, they're only going to do one thing, and that is pollinate, not eat your veggies. Now, this is a really cool project for kids, so I'm going to link one of these butterfly enclosures down below in case you want to try it out. We've done it before, and it's so fun to watch the entire change happen. And if I can get it on camera, I'll try to, pass that along to you guys, maybe over on Instagram, so make sure you're following me there. Now, within 2 or 3 hours of us putting him in here, we didn't even need the milkweed in there because he's already hanging upside down, preparing to become a chrysalis. Now, there are a lot of different plants that will attract all kinds of different butterflies to your garden. Milkweed, though, is super easy. So if you have monarchs in your area, milkweed, it's so easy. It's a perennial, zones 3 through 9, full sun. It barely needs any water except in the driest conditions, no fertilizer. It's simple. The leaves and roots, though, are toxic to humans, so just keep that in mind. Now, bees are the real heroes of the garden. Well, right up there with earthworms, but they're neck and neck. And there's a wide array of plants that you can use to attract bees to your garden. Now, there's one thing that pretty much puts them all in the same category, and that is an open center showing a lot of the anthers covered in pollen. Now, you can see that here with the cosmos, the poppies, the marigolds, and even the nasturtiums have little pollen-filled throats. Now, one of my favorite things to attract bees is basil. And I grow green basil for me, and I grow purple basil for the bees. Once it blooms, it's incredible the amount of bees you're going to see buzzing around it. I always plant tons all over the garden. It's probably my favorite herb, other than cilantro. I am way behind on pricking out and dividing these basil seedlings. And I always sow them like this because it would take so much room and space under the lights in the garage if I did each one in their separate containers. So I broadcast sow them and then divide. Now, if you've ever had a couple of seedlings come up in the same cell, you either probably thinned one out or tried to divide them. Now, when you tried to divide them, did you worry that you might kill one or both of them? They're actually more resilient than you might think, and there's a couple things you can do to make the transition easier. I use a pencil to tease out the roots from one another, and when I have them separated, I take it by the leaf, never the stem. If you tear off a leaf, the plant will grow a new one and continue. If you break the stem, it's all over. You can transfer each one to its own container if it isn't time to plant outdoors yet, or you can plant them directly into the garden if you remember to keep them moist. One shrub that works really well for attracting bees, they really love it, and it's great because it's edible, so it belongs in the vegetable garden, is lavender. Now, I'm not going to go through how to grow lavender because I did a video on that a couple of years ago. In fact, it's actually the first video on my channel that kind of really took off and went somewhere. So if for nothing else than entertainment purposes, I'll link it down below. But today I'm going to actually go out in the front yard and take cuttings of that lavender that I planted in that video so that I can propagate more and have them for back here in the vegetable garden. So to propagate lavender from cuttings, fill a pot with some really well-draining potting mix. And you can add up to 50% perlite to increase drainage if you want to. Lavender love drainage. You want to pre-moisten the potting mix. And a terracotta pot works well because of its porousness, but it's not required. You don't want to choose growth with a bloom at the tip. Choose some fresh looking side growth and tear downward to get the heel. The heel is where most of the roots will grow from. Remove the lower leaves because you want as few leaves on there as possible because you don't want the plant to be supporting leaves. You want it to be focusing on root development. Once you have those leaves removed, you can dip the lower tips in the rooting hormone. I'll leave a link down below to that if you need some. And then you want to stick each of the cuttings right between the edge of the pot and the potting mix. And that's really going to increase the drainage in the area around that little stem. And so it's really going to bring oxygen in there, not get too wet, and be able to create roots as quickly as. Once you've got that done, you're going to put a plastic bag over the pot to increase the humidity, and you're going to put it in a warm, shaded spot. In 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be able to cut one of the corners off of the bag to increase the ventilation. And a few weeks after that, you can remove the bag completely as roots should be developing. And at that point, you can either plant each lavender into their own pot or put it right into the garden. Honeybees were introduced to North America by early settlers from Europe. And since that time, they've become the most popular, for sure in pollination and for honey making. But did you know that before honeybees even arrived on the scene, there were bees here already who did 100% of the bee pollination? Solitary bees like carpenter bees, leafcutter bees, mason bees are 3 times better pollinators than honeybees. Honeybees are more interested in the nectar in the flower, and they actually don't even care about the pollen whatsoever. They'd avoid it if they could. Solitary bees, on the other hand, actually look for the pollen. That's what they want. That's why they end up pollinating your vegetables even better than honeybees. A really cool thing about solitary bees is they only venture about 100 feet from their nest to do all their work. So if we could attract them to our garden, they could be taking care of the pollination here whether honeybees showed up or not. And one way to do that is by installing one of these. It's a little bee hotel, a solitary bee hotel. Now you can make these or purchase them. And basically what it is a bunch of bamboo tubes all pushed into one section. What they do is they take their eggs and they put them in these tubes and then seal the tube off. Bees are fascinating. I love watching them work, both in the garden and in the hives. And a couple of months from now, we're going to be taking a self-sufficient Sunday field trip to my best friend's house. He's actually got an avocado orchard and he keeps bees in the orchard for pollination. And so he's going to show us everything there is to see about his hives, what the bees do, and how they work. So that's going to be a fun one. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on by hitting the bell. Now this Self-Sufficient Sunday, we are going to be talking about being self-sufficient or more self-sufficient growing in containers. That's one a lot of you have been asking for, so definitely make sure to see that one. Now, if you're watching this on Friday the 17th, tomorrow morning, Saturday the 18th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to be our first live stream. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited. I'm going to be answering the most frequently asked questions from all of my videos. Also going to be taking your questions live. So make sure you go over. I'm going to actually put up a thumbnail right now so you can set a reminder. So you don't forget, tomorrow 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to put a link down below also. So if you don't know what time that is where you are in the world, you can go to this website and put in the time zone. It'll tell you what time that is for you. So I hope you all can make it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.